Ambiance à gogo, tout le monde saille, 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 saille. On dirait bonne année. Tous les soirs on saille, 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 saille. On dirait fêtier.
Olivila na Luanda, Shea Tende Kwai Kelepa, na Kasavubu. Kuna, point final.
Palati kitoko, malasine la.
For over 50 years, the music of Kinshasa, the capital of the Democratic Republic of Congo, was the most popular in Africa. A form of artistic expression that grew up with a modern city, it was cosmopolitan in its influences and based on Cuban son, a style of music enjoying global popularity in the 1930s and 40s. Played on modern instruments and sang in Lingala, the first smash hit record was Marie-Louise, a song that rejects traditional authority. Written by Wendo Colossoy and Henri Boanet in 1948, the song was so popular it was said that the dead rose from their graves to dance to it. Wendo was from the first generation of Congolese musicians who were also the first generation of urban residents. With the second generation in the 1950s and 60s, Congolese music really came of age. The icon of this period was Joseph Kabasele, band leader of African jazz. While the lyrics of Congolese music appear to be about love, their context is often political. Before independence, Leopoldville, later known as Kinshasa, was strongly divided by race and class. The population was mostly poor and rural, but the Belgian colony and its rulers depended on a class of literate African clerks. This urban middle class began to envisage a new world, and the music bars of Kinshasa became the spaces where they developed a sense of themselves.
Ambiance. Ambiance.
Crucial to the image of these music bars was the ambianceur, a suave icon who romanced beautiful women and danced to music, a figure embodied in Joseph Kabasele and Patrice Lumumba, who became the first Prime Minister of Congo. The two men became friends in the mid-1950s, working in Leopoldville bars, Lumumba selling beers and Kabasele playing music. By this time, pressure for independence became impossible to ignore, and Belgium, though reluctant to give up its profitable colony, quickly started negotiations. The importance of music was demonstrated during the negotiations for independence in Brussels, when one of Lumumba's diplomats proposed importing Kabasele and a group of musicians from the Congo to improve rapport. Petit Pierre and Brassos composed the song Independence Cha-Cha, which name-checked all the major negotiators. With its upbeat melody, optimistic tone, and its incorporating of all major political parties, it stands today as an important reminder of hopes dashed. Lumumba had aligned himself with radical nationalists in other parts of Africa, and his 1960 election victory worried Western leaders. They quickly moved against him, and within weeks he was assassinated by forces involving both Belgium and the CIA. Exceptionally, Lumumba's friend Kabasele was one of the only musicians that refused to sing for the new regime. Kinshasa's other great musical group of this era, Franco and OK Jazz, profited from the new setup, writing songs for Moïse Tshombe, briefly Prime Minister in 1964, and for General Joseph Mobutu, who seized power in 1965. In the years to come, music became an essential factor in the way politicians created and projected charisma. Those that had conspired with the West to bring down Lumumba now got rich and used their wealth to reinforce friendships with musical styles. Male vocalists sang in the persona of a woman, declaring love for a wealthy, well-connected man, usually a politician. In the early 1970s, the Mobutu regime instigated a program of cultural nationalism, authenticity. In this, music was central. The regime established political folklore troupes such as Group Kake. The themes of these songs were frequently in praise of Mobutu, whose radical reforms included renaming his country Zaire in 1971. Another related phenomenon was the increasing use of music and dance performances by the citizenry in the late 1970s. School children and public employees were obliged to take part in daily 15 minutes performances known as animation politique. As the 70s and the 80s progressed, Zaire's economy spiraled downwards, and a new generation of musicians started to emerge, willing to sing not only for politicians, but for those profiting from the chaos in the country: diamond dealers, drug smugglers, and regime cronies. Here, Congolese music giant Papa Wemba's band Viva la Musica sings a love song written by heroin trafficker and style icon Stervos Niarchos. The song is a declaration of love from Niarchos to his future wife, delivered from the top of the Eiffel Tower, and proposing a wedding where various designer labels would be worn. The 1990s brought an escalation of the economic crisis, and with this, the trend of musicians singing love songs to powerful people for money became more formalized. Prices were established at around $5,000 for the whole song, and varying prices for simple name checks on a record. Recorded songs could include hundreds of names, spoken or sung wherever a musical gap allowed. Concerts were an opportunity for people to come on stage and offer money to singers. Stars like Koffi Olomide or star groups like Wenge Musica would call dozens of names, usually a mix of Europe-based high rollers, Kinshasa politicians and diamond dealers just across the border in Angola. This song by Wenge Musica, perhaps the most popular group of the period, illustrates how Kinshasa-based politicians were part of this new style-obsessed setup. A love song for Kongulu Mobutu, son of the Congolese dictator. It uses his street name Saddam Hussein. By the end of the 1990s, Mobutu's Cold War importance to the West was gone, and he was swept aside when the veteran rebel Laurent Kabila invaded from the east. A horrific civil war followed and continued into the next century. Some musicians managed to establish close ties with the new regime. Among the youngest stars were a son, leader of Wenge Musica Maison Mère, by then the most popular group with Kinshasa's young and poor, quickly associated himself with the regime, establishing a friendship with Laurent Kabila's son, Joseph. Werson sang in support of Kabila Jr. in the 2011 elections with this song, Chante Kabila. As Congo's terrible civil war rambled on, Laurent Kabila was assassinated in 2001. His son Joseph took over, negotiating a peace deal in 2002. In the years that followed, many musicians, especially those from the new generation that emerged in the 2000s, started to keep their distance from political commitments. However, in the 2011 elections, one young star, stage name Bill Clinton, even risked performing for the opposition candidate Etienne Tshisekedi. Nevertheless, ties with politicians remain strong, and the records of Congolese musicians, even the youngest generation, are as ever filled with the praises of the powerful.